Hello. Hello, welcome everyone into our, this is the ninth call of this working crew, um, where we are researching and prototyping um, a mutual aid network that, and for us, for ourselves and people we work with and our friends. It's an inter-community project. So we're just here. This is our first kind of reflection call. And we want to both reflect so that we can learn from it for ourselves, and as well as reflect and share what we have learned so far, and our journey with whoever is interested in exploring their own mutual aid networks and exploring post capitalistic economies. So yeah, so maybe I'll first just give a chronological kind of description about where we are, where we came from, and then I will love to invite Narayan, Teresa, Benjamin to introduce yourself a little bit, and then just surface our learnings and insights. How does that sound? Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm looking at our mural board. We have we have a wonderful visual artifact here, and we might share. We're happy to share the link to these notes with other people who are interested. So I'm looking at the mural board. We started the conversation around, I think, in maybe end of June or beginning of July. And at that point, because we come from different communities, we didn't really set out to like, we didn't, this constellation didn't set out to just prototype a mutual aid network. We just came and shared our dreams and shared our inspirations, and then out of it emerged this vision, this dream about mutual aid network. And actually, I'd like to show Teresa's out of that meeting. Teresa came up with this this graph. Can we all see that? Yeah. Of using the metaphor analogy of a human body to imagine what a mutual aid village may look like, what kind of functions it needs to have. So, there is, if you can see, there's the heart that brings resources to people, projects, care for connection, belonging, and togetherness. There is connective tissue, communication, connection between organs, holds the whole thing together, information flow, the liver, the legs. Yeah, it's really a kind of the nervous system. It's about collective sense making, like all of these really inspiring kind of visions that puts together in a very holistic way. And so from the very get-go, we agreed that the mutual aid village is not going to just be about money, just to be about flowing money. It's about our holistic well-being of the individual and the collective. So that was our first call. And then I think we started aligning our visions in the second call. And then it's every 2 weeks we have this call. And it's really kind of from the bottom up kind of way. We each share our own dreams and aspirations and see what overlaps and what not. And from there, we spend maybe 2 calls in terms of aligning our visions. And then the fourth call, we each started writing about both the long-term vision of, what would be a village that I want to be in, that's in 10 years, in 50 years. And also we each reflected on what is the present needs, present tensions that is really alive in us in relationship to the village. And then on the fifth call, we actually, came up with a tentative collective vision that is really inspiring. I will also share the screen about here. So this is the vision. We envision a network which, through being a part of, each of the participants feel a sense of financial resilience and stability. This stability leads to their energy being freed up for purpose-driven work that is essential for the world we see as possible and currently economically undervalued. We imagine that as this network builds, we will deepen our relationships with abundance and security, knowing none of us have to hold what we care about alone. We envision this emerging field of networked nourishment, attending to emotional health, movement, embodiment, practice, vibrant and clear information flow, healing, learning, and sense-making together. And in our sixth call and seventh call, we started to, actually around maybe the sixth, or maybe around the fourth call, we actually we learned that we got the micro grant from Building Belonging. So we're very, very grateful for that. And so then we started to actually both thinking of tending for the long-term vision, but also thinking about now with this grant available, what kind of experiments can we do, are we interested in doing? And after a couple of brainstorms, we learned about, some of the typical mutual aid networks, what they typically do. They can raise a rainy day fund, they can raise an emergency fund, they can raise different types of funds. But then we don't want to just follow what other people do. We really want to be attuned to what's really present for each of us and build a village that's meaningful from the get-go. It's not just like build a village for somebody else. But so now what experiment do we want to do? Turns out to be a really juicy problem, but we haven't really solved it yet. So this is, this goes to our eighth call. Where we talked about UBI, universal basic income. We talked about, many different types of potential experiments. And then now leading to the ninth call, which is today. So I guess I'll stop here, and I'd love to, invite kind of insights, what we have learned, anything that I misrepresented, please surface.
I'll just start. I'll add a few thoughts. One is that there was a conversation early on and also ongoingly about recognizing that there are probably ways that one could go about thinking of a mutual aid network that would work for a general population, particularly of people who don't know one another, and whether that's through standard financial means or through more kind of Web3 technological infrastructure, the kind of trustless systems. And there's probably really interesting things to investigate in that direction. And also, we kind of clarified that we are actually interested in a different direction, which is more of a high trust direction. And so there are implications for that in terms of what does this mutual aid village mean to us, and what would be the qualities of relationships that people have within it that we would imagine, and what actually is required in order to enable that trust. So that's kind of where, as Carol was saying, it's more than just financial, and in sometimes more than just individual, although it is deeply individual, but it's also interpersonal, and about developing the skills and capacities to communicate effectively and to be able to make bets together over time. One other thought is that we've presented the idea in another container that Carol, Teresa, and I are a part of with 5 or 6 other collaborators, just to get feedback from people. And it was really interesting to see like a very strong, it elicited very strong responses for people, almost like so much hope and sense of possibility, and then also the kind of the counter, like afraid of the possibility here and not wanting to get one's hopes up, and so feeling a bit cynical or jaded, and wanting to understand how such an idea could be pragmatic or realistic. Which actually a number of people mentioned as we spent more time talking together. They mentioned themselves feeling more comfortable, but that was one of the shades of the first shades of experience that came up for some people, was actually some protectiveness that they described alongside the very deep yearning for what this kind of a vision could even represent or mean in their lives. And then one final part that came up on that call was just the deep importance of storytelling and how to tell the story of what we are doing here, and in some sense what we are all doing, even beyond this one kind of incident project, in a way that both connects with people where they are currently at, and helps people to imagine a different possibility that they want, that they believe in and want so deeply that they can't help but want to invest, whether that's on a financial level or with their own time or their own care. And I think that there is a sense from conversations we've had in many different directions, in many different communities or groups or organization, that the primary issue may not be a lack of value. There may actually be lots of resources that exist out and around us. The question may be more one of, are we actually able to coordinate non-naively and resiliently enough to allow the channels for resources to flow?
Yeah, I think I would also share a sense that when we began, there was this vision that's still carrying with us of a village, of having a perhaps 100 or 150 person group that is supporting each other, and economic flows would be a part of that, and the learning around economic flows. And also something maybe more core is like, how do we all thrive together, and what does it actually look like to support one another? And then looking at the areas that we've had other conversations with friends around economics, and there's some sense of like, it's really easy to flow certain kinds of resources of care, maybe time and attention in certain circumstances, but economics and money can have more emotional tangles around it. So there's even something about this whole mutual aid village project being about learning, and learning about our own relationships with money and about each other's, and asking the questions of how do we create high trust environments and safe to fail experiments where we can actually try things out and hold a container that's resilient enough to have them not go as we planned, and learn things along the way. And I feel like that's part of maybe where I'm seeing us at right now, is the kind of like, what experiments make sense to run, what experiments would be of value to us currently, where our resources need to go in our lives right now, and also what would nourish the learning and the long-term sense of many people being able to be nourished and in a thriving relationship with each other through being a part of this project.
I might add in one example, because it's not just that we hope to be sparking experiments from within this container, and we're wondering about who else to invite into that. But also that we're digesting other experiments and other aspects of our lives into this. So the concrete one is the challenge that I brought into this container, but I also been holding in other membranes in a sorted in another network that is related to this one that we all participate in as well. And that I've just gotten like really a lot of support in sense making about what we think is going on in the world, and it's actually changing the financial decisions that I'm making in my life. And I think some of the trust that is enabling that is a trust that I can be responsible for my own actions, but that I really value what other people are thinking and sensing. And so just feeling resourced by the community in a different way. I think for me, there has been a lot of nebulosity in this space. And I'm also having increasing levels of trust that things are starting to cohere, that there are more and more connections being made, and that we're actually developing through these conversations more and more of a shared language and a sense of something actually coming into focus, I think.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, really rich. Anything else that we want to kind of name or sense make?
Maybe I'll note that I feel like there's a lot we can do within the realm of experiments, and also a big part of our journey over the past 8 calls has been finding like where do our visions align already, and where through speaking together do we get a richer picture of what it is that we even want to move towards, and both having that, like having the image of the vision continuing to be clarified, as well as like our current learning edges and our current circumstances in our lives, and having that be present. And then also the just the creative thinking on what could we try out to see more of what might move in that direction. And it feels like the larger vision is something that we could see like emerging in this moment, and in very close moments from now, and also long term it may be hundreds of years out or multi-generations. So it feels like something large that we're working on, and we're just kind of taking steps and seeing what happens as we go.
I'll add just a few more thoughts. Some of these may be reiterations of things that people have already said. So the strategy or the process that we've been talking about has been one of what experiments seem like they actually create immediate value for us, rather than fitting maybe like an idea of what a mutual aid village should look like. I think that there's a principle or some kind of a sense that there is synergy in the technical sense of the term synergy that could be possible. And by synergy, I mean a whole that is more than the sum of its parts. So some activity whereby there are more outputs created than the inputs that go into creating it. And one of the reasons that we have a hypothesis that may happen here is because we are expanding our lens to consider, we have a multi-dimensional lens on value and on resource, and perhaps even on meaning. So you know, the physiological state of my body feeling easeful leads to me having more creative capacity, leads to me being able to have deeper, more resilient connection with Teresa or Carol or whoever else, leads to multiple forms of value, including potential financial, and especially on a system-wide level, potentially financial. So we could start to see how if we find ways of getting at some of the underlying drivers or just core aspects of our living and being and doing, it may lead us to have a higher quality of life, higher well-being, as well as higher kind of creative output, you could say. And then maybe just one final thing would be kind of, aligned with that skeleton diagram. In the further vision would probably include an ecology or an ecosystem of infrastructure, programs, services, learning contexts. So we're very much taking an emergent strategy type approach to this, building it kind of one step as we go with a long-term direction, but more allowing the plans to become clear descriptively as we just kind of get a sense of what the obvious next steps look like.
Great. Yeah, I just noticed that Narayan's taking amazing notes while we're talking. This is just, I feel like to me, I just love the collaboration with you all, and we each just chime in when we see fit. I love the process every step of the way. All right, any other addition before we close this reflection? And I actually have lots of ideas for experiments. So I want to be done with the reflection, and then we can go into brainstorming for the rest of our meeting. So any other closing thoughts? Everything's good? All right. So this is our report in this stage in our project, and we'd love to hear feedback from whoever are interested. Please give us feedback, and we want to learn along the way and learn with you, with whoever is interested, because this project is not just for us. We hope that we can learn a lot, so that there are many villages, supportive villages for people all around the world. All right. Bye.